And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Top Talk podcast. I'm your host, Harris Areno. Alongside me, co-host Kobe Pierce. Dan's not with us tonight. Dan said he's like Notre Dame. He's opted out. He's taking his ball, and he's gone home. No, I'm just joking. He's down in Charleston having a good time for a basketball tournament. He'll be back with us, I assume, next Sunday with our Ole Miss Georgia College Football Playoff reaction show. But today it's the preview show. Kobe, how you doing this wonderful Sunday evening, dude? It doesn't even feel like the day is running together at this point. Sunday feels like Saturday, like whatever. How you doing?
Spoken like a college student that hasn't had to be at class in weeks. The days are running together. The lines are blurred. You don't know if it's up or down, day or night. I mean, you're already on New Orleans time at this point. Others, when you got to work for a living, it feels like a Sunday night, dog. Got to be at work tomorrow. Got to be at work Tuesday. Little half day Wednesday. Off Thursday. Watch the Dawgs Thursday night. And then a little Thursday night scaries. Got to be back at work Friday morning. Rough. But then the weekend. So 3.5 day work week this week. It'll be pretty smooth. But doing good. It is a good Christmas. Hope you had a good Christmas. Hope everybody watching, good holiday with your family, and hope safe travels for everybody. Still, it was a hot one in Athens for Christmas. I think it was like 72, 73 Christmas Day. So makes the hot chocolate go down a little harder. That's for sure.
It makes for an interesting air conditioning spot when you come back and you need to turn down the heat or just turn it off completely and turn on that AC again for the first time since probably a little beginning of October, late October. Definitely makes for a weird, interesting situation. Like Kobe said, hope everybody had a great Christmas. Hopefully you're on the couch still watching this. If you are watching this, hanging out, having a good time. Kobe, it's time to get down to business, buddy. Georgia Ole Miss in the college football playoff quarterfinal had media today and yesterday. And after years of hearing Kirby talk about how his guys don't need external motivation, they shouldn't need it, especially for this game. I was a little bit surprised to hear Gunnar Stockton come out today, and I'm not sure if you saw this, and say that not necessarily there is extra motivation, but did admit there's a bad taste in that man's mouth after how last year went in this game in his first career start.
Yeah, I mean, I think in his mind, he had a lot to prove in that start. And what we saw from him is what we've learned was not the Gunnar Stockton we've learned, right? Like he seemed sporadic. He didn't have full control. He threw the ball extremely well. We just didn't kind of take advantage of some situations. I'm sure that, the turnover right before the half, some things like that. I don't blame him. I mean, Sugar Bowl's a big game. Notre Dame last year was a good team in a game that I'm sure they felt like we should have been competitive enough to win. So, for Gunnar to want to go out there and win a playoff game, I love it. I mean, like you're saying, the Sugar Bowl has kind of been up and down. You lose it in 2018 to Texas. You win it against Baylor. You lose it against Notre Dame. And then hopefully you win it against Ole Miss. I mean, at that point, you're still only going to be 2-2 in Sugar Bowls under Kirby Smart so far. So, like saying that, definitely a good opportunity to win and kind of put a statement against a team that you've already played earlier in the year.
What's your take on these rematches? I know we talked about it briefly on last Sunday, especially in a scenario where you won the last matchup.
Yeah, I think that it really kind of boils down to the playoff committee and some of those last couple of ranking spots that could have avoided some of these rematches. You know what I mean? Like if you move Ole Miss and Texas A&M or a couple of those seedings late, you could have had Texas A&M playing the 11 seed, I guess, which was Tulane, and then Texas A&M possibly playing us. You could have had Ole Miss play Miami first. And then it kind of would have fixed the Tulane Ole Miss rematch, the Georgia Ole Miss rematch, kind of would have fixed all that problems. Because the only other rematch, I think, in the system would be if Oregon and Indiana won, then that would be the only rematch left. Everybody else is a new game the rest of the season, as far as I know. So, like you're saying, to me, just maybe a seed or two difference, and you could have put to bed all the rematches. Which, like you're saying, I feel like an SEC champion should not have to play a rematch um, until the final game of your side of the bracket. You know what I mean? Like, I guess it'd have made more sense if we'd had to play Texas A&M, a team we didn't have to play the whole time. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it, but it is what it is. I mean, is the opponent in front of you? I'm sure Ole Miss would tell you they would probably rather play somebody they've never seen before either. It's just the nature of the beast, I guess.
It does make for an interesting dynamic here in terms of obviously the turnover on the Ole Miss side. Obviously, Lane Kiffin's no longer the guy calling the shots over there. A lot of their staff members are basically balancing two jobs, finishing out the year at Ole Miss, then going to transition over to LSU. I think that's more true on the offensive side of the football right now for those guys. Makes for an interesting dynamic, and also makes you wonder. Like, we look at the first round playoff game. You look at Texas A&M. You mentioned them. They have some turnover on their staff. They had some attrition. Their offensive coordinator became a head coach, balancing that in the offensive coordinating duties. Their defensive coordinator, who wasn't really calling the signals, it was more Mike Elko, had a new job lined up at Kentucky. A couple other assistants on their staff had jobs lined up with their offensive coordinator at the new stop. And it just makes you wonder with how that game played out for them offensively. Like, hey, were they as focused as they could have been? Did they do as much as they could have possibly can to help them win that game? It's going to be something people evaluate, especially in that building. And you look at it, A&M lost that game to a team that didn't have those issues, didn't have that turnover, didn't have guys doing double duties. And you look at this game, and it makes for an interesting dynamic because Georgia has none of that right now. There's not a single guy in Georgia's coaching staff that is lined up to go coach elsewhere, publicly, maybe privately, that I'm not aware of yet. But that's not the case.
Great
so,
save.
Yeah, I'm
just in case. You know what I mean? Like, just
just
in
in
case
case.
that you're
Just
not
in
all
case.
over Georgia Twitter.
Just in case. But it makes for an interesting dynamic here, and especially on that offensive side of the ball for Ole Miss, because Kobe, I went back and watched that game on tape this past week over break, and man, it just struck me. It's like Georgia had so many chances early in that game to get stops. They had played pretty well in terms of first and second out. I'll first and second. Second down was kind of the issue, but first down they had played it pretty well. Weren't giving up too many explosives. You got them into 2nd and 10, 2nd and 9s, but second down was kind of the disaster because you gave up some explosive second down. You let them get into a 3rd and short, and that was kind of the downfall. And even when they got into 3rd and long, the ball was out too quick. You couldn't do anything to stop them. So I'm curious, like, how much of Georgia's defensive improvement are you kind of banking in terms of predicting this matchup? Because for me, I don't know if the offense has gotten better per se. I think that was the best performance of the year by that unit. And I don't know if it's not realistic to expect them to go, touchdown, field goal, and nothing else in a rematch. But defensively, the ceiling's pretty high compared to the floor that was set in that first matchup, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if you told me right now that both teams would score every time they touch the ball in the first half like they did in the first matchup, I would tell you there's just no way, right? Like, I would never bet that in any game I ever watch, ever, that both teams are going to be perfect in the first half on scoring every single time. I think we were perfect the whole game, if I remember right. And their last two stops came the last two drives to kind of seal it away. So I agree. I think it's going to be a little more of your traditional football game early. I mean, I think Ole Miss is still going to score. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think you come out and pitch shutout, but much more, 10-17 at half kind of game, 14-10, 17-14, something where somebody gets a good drive, somebody hits a big play, somebody's methodical. They're going to try to take the ceiling or the top off a couple times. I'm sure they're going to try to score quickly and I mean, they want it to be a shootout. I guess that's my thing. Ole Miss's game plan is going to be, can you score 38 to beat us? If you can't, good luck. And, Georgia's thing is, I think we talked about 24. Isn't that the magic number we talked about last show is Kirby Smart's, like, money number. If you can keep teams to 24 or below, Kirby Smart has never lost a game, I believe. Or if we scored 24, I forget where we came up with that. We looked
I'll
last
grab it
week.
real quick. I think you're right though. I think it is around that number, 20 something, somewhere in the 20s, is
So,
where he's like maybe one loss, and
yeah,
that's it.
and maybe that
So
was Notre Dame.
I'm pulling that up real quick.
Perfect. Like you're saying,
Kobe, yeah, I'll let you continue.
not a lot more to say on that. Just that I think that a lot of times in rematches, people think that, oh, because this happened the first time, it'll happen the second time. And I would say that almost no rematch that Georgia's ever played has it looked identical to the first way it went. Alabama game this year, they came out phenomenal, otherworldly on third down. They struggled on third down in the SEC championship game. If I think about the Auburn game in 2017, Auburn had their way with you, ran the ball all over the field in the first time, kind of struggled running the ball the second time. It just kind of just repeats itself to some extent of, what plagued you the first time, typically the adjustment is made that doesn't plague you the second time. And like you're saying, third down and these long sustained scoring drives for Ole Miss is what killed you the first time. I would not expect that to be what is your downfall this time either. Harrison's giving me some stats. This is what we were talking about. Kirby Smart, when allowing 20 or less, is 90-1 all time. And then Kirby Smart, when scoring 20 or more, is 110-11. So, like you're saying, that 24-21 area, you're going to be pretty okay if you're a Georgia Bulldog. So,
I want to know what the one game in that 90-1. I'll have to go dig back through that. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I would assume maybe it's a game when you were on campus. Maybe you were there for that game.
What was the Notre Dame score last year?
23-10.
Okay, 23.
I'm curious what that was. I can't think of.
It's
Vanderbilt,
my freshman year, 17-16 loss in Sanford.
That's it. Damn, look at you pulling that out.
Yep.
Damn. Yeah, that's a good shot. Damn. 90-1, and that's the one time. The Doors are the one in 90-1.
I'm pretty sure that I'm like 90% sure that's right.
I think you're right, because that was the fourth down jet sweep game. Isaiah McKenzie, when you have Nick Chubb in the backfield and everyone's like, Jim Chaney, what are you doing? Just the start of the moaning about the offensive coordinator back in the Kirby Smart era. But that's neither here nor there. Kobe, I became aware of this stat today. I didn't know this. And we're talking about the Georgia offense, which we've known has been playing at a really high level this year. It's been, when you talk about Georgia going into these games from maybe game 4 on, which I think game 4, if my math is correct, is the Tennessee game, you start the conversation about Georgia's offense in terms of strengths. Like, it's been the unquestioned leader on this team, maybe up until the last 3 games, where the defense has kind of played at a really high level, and the offense hasn't done anything to lose those games, but really didn't need to do much in terms of winning those games because the defense was playing so well. This offense has been incredibly efficient all year long, and that starts with their emphasis on the run game. They're averaging over 250 yards passing while averaging over 180 yards rushing. It's insanely balanced as that kind of notes, but also you look at the money downs. For all the talk about the defense and their struggles on third down earlier in the year, their struggles, in terms of second down, like in the Ole Miss game, Georgia's offense on third down is converting at a 45% clip, 45.24 right now. And then on the flip side, I didn't know this. That third down, they ranked 29th in the country. On fourth down, Kobe, they're number 1. They've converted 13 to 17 attempts on fourth down. Like, you're talking about precision. 76% conversion rate on the ultimate. Got to have it down.
Like Shane, I think that's a shout out to being balanced, right? Like, you're giving yourself opportunities to be in third and shorts, fourth and even shorters, And then you have options, right? On 4th and 1, 4.5 yard. It's not just quarterback sneak. It's not just hand the ball off to the running back. Like there are so many options that you have, whether it's gunner's legs, whether it's the running back, whether it's the fullback, whether it's the tight end, whether, it's all these different things that a defense is having to defend against in such a short field, right? Like, I mean, you got to realize 4th and 1, like the odds of you not getting 1 yard if a play is drawn up properly is so slim in college football, in the NFL, anywhere. I mean, 1 yard is just crazy. So it's impressive. I mean, I think that Kirby realized in the offseason, and a huge shout out to him and Mike Bobo and the offensive staff for the preparations they've done over the year. But they realized that they leaned one side of the ball way too heavy in throwing the ball. And that balance is what's always made Georgia tough. Stetson, I mean, even when Stetson was throwing the ball for, a couple thousand yards in the 2022 season, we still could run the ball and run the ball at will. And I think that's what has brought back this Georgia team. It's what sustains seasons, right? Like even in games Gunner maybe hasn't been the hot hand or been as efficient, you've been able to turn around and hand the ball off to a running back and go, we need to be able to run the ball today, fellas. We're not going to be able to pass our way out of this game. We have to be able to run the ball, control the clock, control the field, and get out of here.
Yeah, and that's what they did versus Ole Miss. I think time of possession has been really high for them. I mean, in terms of like they've gotten back to doing what they did when you were there, and even in the Stetson Bennett days when you were in the national championships, is they're controlling games. Last year, it didn't feel like they were controlling games. Even early in the year when Georgia felt like was trailing all the dang time in the first half, and you were just throwing the ball out there and say, hey, we're going to give you the first half, but we're going to beat you in the second half, was kind of what it felt like early on. They're still ranked among the best in the nation time possession. Kobe, they're third in time of possession this year at over 33 minutes time of possession overall. I believe that's average per game. So you're possessing the ball for over 33 minutes in these football games. I assume, kind of going back to what you talked about with this probably being a more low-scoring game. I think that's probably going to have a ton to do with it. Like, Ole Miss we've seen it even in the first game. They have the capabilities to be more explosive than Georgia does. Georgia's much more methodical, drawn out, body blows type team. Yes, they can hit a knockout punch when they need it. Colby Young, flea flicker, huge play to start that game. Obviously, he ended up getting hurt off that, unfortunately. But I think I'm with you. I think this is a lower scoring game. I think Georgia's game plan is going to be naturally to limit those Ole Miss possessions. And call me crazy, it would kind of be fitting if the first possession of this game on both sides ends in a punt. After the way that first game went, it just feels like we're due to see two punts just back to back.
It would feel fitting. I don't feel like, just with Charlie Weiss in the script and Mike Bobo in the script and everything that's at stake, it would have to be, I feel like, a penalty, a big drop, like something happens for these teams probably not to score right out of the gate. I mean, I just feel like, if you're Kirby, if you're Ole Miss, like I've been trying to think about it too. So I'm like, how much should Ole Miss truly fully prepare for Tulane, and how much has Ole Miss been like just ready for the Sugar Bowl? Did they really have to have full focus on Tulane and everything they're doing? And then for Kirby, I mean, basically the Sunday the selection show comes out, I feel like all you're doing is preparing for future opponents immediately, right? You're preparing for Ole Miss. You're preparing for Ohio State. You're preparing for maybe some Texas A&M, some Miami. But, you're preparing for the future, for the first game, and then any possible game kind of down the line. So, like you're saying, you've had 2.5, almost 3 weeks, I think now, of Ole Miss prep in a way. And after you've already dove into Ole Miss one time, it'll be an interesting thing to kind of see how those adjustments look early in the game. I think that's the thing that me and you've talked about, so many people have talked about, is we're really good at adjusting at halftime. I think we would all like to see those adjustments from snap one, from drive one. obviously Ole Miss is really good at what they do, but that's the kind of statement. You come out and you hit them in the mouth in the first quarter. I'm not sure they get off the canvas. You know what I mean? Like they don't have Lane. They don't have, that person that's necessarily been there. I mean, even Pete Golding, for as good as he is a defensive coordinator, it's just only his second job head coaching. Like, I'm just not sure that a couple big hits early, and they're not kind of looking around going, "Holy cow, we were not prepared for this kind of game." So again, could be completely in left field, right? Like Ole Miss could come in humming, but it just feels like the kind of game that experience is going to matter. And I feel like that's really where Kirby wins a lot of these big games is he's been in these big moments and he doesn't seem to panic, right? He seems to know his style, know his methods, and know that, 9 times out of 10 it leads to wins.
Just the pulse he has on these games. And you even see it in the regular season too, in big moments. Like I think back to the game in Austin or the game in Athens just back in November versus Texas. Like they score off the pick from Gunnar Stockton. Georgia goes down, converts 2 fourth downs. They score to make it a 2-score game. And then he says, we're going for broke here. Like onside kick time. Boom. You get the onside kick. Boom. It's a 3-score game. Game over. Like just having the pulse on the momentum. I mean, even in the SEC championship game, you have the fake punt after Texas had just scored I think it was a 1-score game. Maybe it was tied. You go 3 and out and you get into a 4th and 5 and he says, screw it, fake punt. And boom, you end up going down. And I think you get a field goal out of that drive, if I remember correctly. So just the pulse in these games. I mean, heck, even versus Alabama, I think they went for it on early 4th down in the SEC championship game and converted it. Obviously, the blocked punt is just knowing when to flip the momentum and to flip it around. That's been so crucial. And that's, I think, when you talk about these head coaches, obviously Pete Golden, this is his second game as a head coach versus Kirby Smart. It's where this game could ultimately be won and lost if this is a 1-possession game again. It's, hey, Golden does this like Mark Stoops last year, Kobe, when he went to punt. Or what was it? It was a controversial decision to punt when everyone said to go for it. And Georgia ends up winning this game. It's like that type of decision where maybe it goes the other way if you have a more experienced guy like Lane Kiffin calling the shots. That's the one thing I'm curious about. Under Kiffin, they've been so aggressive early in games, trying to, quote, steal a possession by going for it early in these games on 4th down. Does that hold?
Well, like you're saying, in a big game like this, Kiffin's mindset is feast or famine when it came to that, right? Like you go for those big 4th downs, and yeah, if you get it, like you're saying, you steal a possession where you may go put up 7. But if you're down 7-0, all of a sudden you go for it on 4th down and it doesn't hit, you may be looking at 14-0 in a hurry. And I would like to believe that Pete Golding is going to lean into being defensive minded and playing things smart. Turnovers, field position. He has to know as a defensive coordinator at his time in Alabama, his time at Ole Miss, that is going to lead to positive possessions for Ole Miss. You can't just empty the clip and hope the offense can go out and put 45 up. That would be my thought process going into this game about their head coach. I would think that it would look a lot different than the way Lane coached this last time. And I'm not sure, while that is a good thing in ways, is it a bad thing in other ways? I don't know. Are you more predictable for Glenn Schumann and Kirby Smart? And is Lane's unpredictability what makes him so hard to coach against? I do think that that's a big problem with, playing against a Lane offense is you don't know what he's going to do, when he's going to do it. Will he go for it on 4th and 3 just to mess with you or make you call a timeout or do whatever? So it's such an interesting game. I'm so excited for it. It's definitely been another game that the head ball coach has put us in that I would tell you that I feel as comfortable as I've felt in a big game in a while. But at the same time, Ole Miss is a good team. They got good offense. They got a good quarterback. Q run always has been an issue for the University of Georgia on defense. I think we did a good job limiting Trinidad the last time, but I would not be surprised if you see more Q run, more times him rolling out of the pocket, being able to throw the ball on the run. Again, trying to steal some easy yards.
He had 3 touchdowns in the last game. 2 of them were rushing. And I believe there's a stat of the rushing touchdowns Georgia's given up this season. I think majority of them, over 50% of them, were quarterback runs. Which is, I mean, it's kind of right in line with what you would expect, just because that's the ultimate extra hat kind of X factor in the run game. Like Bobo talked about that on Georgia's end, is having that extra hat, having that +1 of the box, because you have a quarterback that can pull it and kind of honor the backside, make that defensive end honor the quarterback pull. We'll see. I mean, let's transition into, I guess, X factors here. And I know we didn't really talk about this much, but I mean, number one, Kobe, this kind of goes for both teams. I think this game, it's cliche, but I think it's so true here, and it goes right to the heart of the Ole Miss offense. It's Ole Miss needs Kewan Lacey to have a game. He cannot go 12 for 31. Like, Ole Miss's offense, as you know, is predicated off of their ability to run the ball on you and then to RPO off of it. Have the play action, put your linebackers in conflict, put your star in conflict, and make them respect the ability to hand that ball off. And then you got to worry about when they pull it. Oh, shoot, receiver's running right, a vertical right behind me, and I waited a second or two hesitant because of the run game. If Kewan Lacey doesn't have at least 60 yards in this game, Georgia wins. And I don't believe it will be, I think it's more than a one-score game.
Nice.
If that's the case.
So tell me this, as we sit right now, and I think it's a little early in the week being Sunday night, because the game's Thursday night, so they're not due until tomorrow, right? For initial injury reports, not due until tomorrow.
Correct.
Are we hearing any whispers on Kewan Lacey at this point after being injured against Tulane of any possible limitations, or is that not really squeaked out the Ole Miss side of life? While you look that up,
I haven't seen anything yet on him. But they said yesterday that they are preparing as if he's playing anyways.
Perfect. Yeah.
Hold on, there might have been something. Joe Judge said today, according to the Clarion Ledger, he was out there today with us. At this point in the season, no one's 100%. I'll let the head coach handle the injury updates. So Kewan did practice today. Great.
Something I was sitting here thinking about while you were talking, and a really good point. And I'd be curious to hear how Kirby would address this to the media, because I used to always remember there's a big point in bowl games back when, like they didn't play a first-round bowl game with Ole Miss. Like the first playoff game would be New Year's Eve, and that'd be the first time anybody's played since SEC championship game or earlier. But two of the big things that he used to always say mattered in the postseason is people tackle worse statistically than any game they've played all season. The trend is normally the teams tackle worse and more turnovers happen than any game. Those are the two statistical anomalies in postseason play. The people are looser with the way they carry the ball and they're sloppier with the way they tackle. And so I would be interested to hear what you have to say about, for Ole Miss having played basically a week ago, 10 days ago, Georgia, it's been close to 17 days. Obviously, with an offense as explosive as Ole Miss, tackling is going to be at a premium. One of the big things that plagued the Georgia defense last year was it struggles tackling one-on-one in open field. And then turnovers. I love to harp on this in big games. What kills them? Turnovers in a hurry, right? And that can look at turnovers that way can be a variety of turnovers. They can be, punting the ball when momentum's not on your side, a fumble, a deflection that ends up in somebody's hands that's not supposed to be. Just so many options. But in a game like this, if you give Ole Miss 2 extra possessions with the football, like you're going to be behind the 8 ball most of the night at that point. So, talk about that when we play Alabama all the time, right? Penalties, turnovers, tackling,
rushing yards.
That's easy. It's easy stats, man. You can follow them and you can see losses and how they just trail behind. You don't tackle well, you turn the ball over, you have a bunch of penalties, you're going to get your ass beat.
Hey, that's the basics of football, and it translates well to the pro game, translates well to the college game, especially in the college game. I feel like those mistakes are magnified at this level in terms of you turn the ball over, you don't have professional athletes that are going to go out there and kind of consistently make up for that. At some point, it's going to come back to bite you at some point or another. Kobe, with that being said, prediction time. I'm going to make you give a score prediction. I know we don't usually do it, but Dan's not here to object. So
I got one locked and loaded for you.
let's hear it.
I got Dawgs win 34-24.
Ooh, well, damn. Because I said just an hour ago, or not even an hour ago, maybe probably about an hour ago, 37-24 Georgia. And I took your advice, and I've been taking it ever since you told it to me. Always, always, always account for a field goal or two when predicting a Georgia score.
100%.
Always.
You know he's going to kick one. I just know he is. He is too. He understands, and that's what still amazes me about, the Alabama game earlier in the year when he didn't kick the field goal. The man is proud, and he will take the points when he is given a 3 points. He will take them and he will say, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" And like you're saying, that's why I always just one or two sprinkled in. Sprinkle it in.
That's what made the SEC championship kind of surprising. They didn't kick a field goal at all in that game.
No, 28-7. Would have never dreamed it. Should have sprinkled the 31 and let it roll.
If Kobe was the long snapper on field goal, he'd only see the field on PATs, which I don't know. Maybe that makes you feel bad. Maybe you're like, damn it, you hurt my stock here.
Don't care. Win's a win. 34-28. Which I guess that's 4 touchdowns, a pair of field goals for us. That would have me sweating. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Question is, Soul Brother, is that 28 a garbage time touchdown that cuts it to a deficit for an onside kick, or is that legitimate? Like, hey, this is a 1-score game up until the end. That would be my only question for you. Curious. I think it's going to be lower scoring. I don't think you're going to see 30 combined 24 points or 70 points. Yeah, it is because over under is 56.5.
But lines 6.5.
And yep. Bad beat. That's the bad beat of the week, especially depending on how Soul Brother sees that game working out there. All right. I told you we weren't going to go long. So we're just going to wrap it up. We're going to pick the spreads for the other college football playoff games. Don't want to hold y'all too long. It's a preview show. I know everybody else has plans. All right. Let's start with the game on Wednesday night. Ohio State, Miami in AT&T Stadium. The Buckeyes, home away from home. They've been here twice in a row now. They are a 9.5-point favorite against the fighting Carson Becks.
I'm going weird here. This is going to be very odd for me. I'm going that Carson Beck, like, something happens. And he is the Carson Beck of 2023. And this is a tight football game. I mean, just a quarterbacks duel. I'm going 38-35 Ohio State to win this game. I mean, just it's rolling.
All right. Well, I said it on a show earlier today that I have Miami covering. I don't know what the score is going to be honest with you. But I think Miami covers the 9.5. However they do it, maybe it's a backdoor cover. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's actually a competitive football game. I think Ohio State's going to win. I don't have any doubts about that. The one thing that makes me think Miami's going to keep this within the spread is that defensive front. And that defense as a whole is nasty. I mean, Ruben Bain, Akeem Mesidor, Jacoby Thomas. They got some dudes over there on that defense. They got NFL players, and I think that keeps them in this game. My one question here, Kobe, and the one thing that makes me think that this could get out of hand quick in a hurry, is what Beck do you have? If this is Carson Beck that you're going to have to hit the football out of his hand because it's a one-possession game, I don't think you're going to win. Now, if this is like you said, 2023 Carson Beck, and this guy's dealing, he's playing on time, he's on schedule, he's confident, he's comfortable. It's going to be the game of the year. In my prediction, if
I
that's
think,
the case.
yeah. And I think not only that, but I think one wide receiver is going to have to come alive outside of Malachi Tony. The problem he gets hung up with, the problem with the offense at times for them, is they are looking to Malachi Tony so early and so often that they just get tunnel vision. They're going to have someone in the wide receiver room step up and have a big game, take just a little bit of pressure off of Tony to maybe soften that coverage on him just a little bit in this game. I just feel like both the defenses are really, really good. So maybe 38 is a little high now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe like 31-28. But I'm still feeling like Carson Beck is going to have a bigger game than he had against Texas A&M. He's going to air the ball out a little bit. Fernando Mendoza had a lot of success throwing the ball. Just something's telling me that Carson Beck is due for a big time first round quarterback type of showing.
You heard it here first, folks. Carson Beck might be having it come up here in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting to see how he does play because that's kind of the ultimate X factor in this game. What you get 2023 version of Carson Beck, all bets are off in terms of Ohio State covering. That's going to be a football game. All right, next one. We got three more, so we'll go. Well, we already predicted the Georgia game. Last two. Sneaky game here, Kobe. I can see it either way. Let's go to the Rose Bowl. Indiana, Alabama. Alabama capitalized on the doubters the other week. They won. Now they play the number one seed. By many folks' opinion, the best team on that side of the bracket, maybe the best team in the field right now, according to some people. Indiana is a 7-point favorite. And if you were to ask me who plays this game 10 years ago, it's Alabama, no doubt. But there's doubt now, Kobe.
Okay, tell me what you got. Tell me what you got for the doubters.
I'm taking Indiana to cover in this game. And it's solely because I don't think you can beat an Indiana level team who actually does have a functioning, consistent offense by throwing 40 times a game. You have to have some semblance of balance in terms of a running game. You have to be able to, like they used to say, you got to be able to eat your vegetables and you got to be able to grind out some yardage on the ground. I don't think Alabama can do that. I think Indiana's front's pretty damn good. I think they showed that versus Ohio State. They gave some problems to Julian Sain in that Ohio State offense. If Alabama can run the ball for more than 50 yards, okay, then maybe we can talk. But Kobe, I got to see it to believe it. And when you talk about what Alabama needs to make a run at a national championship this year, they need some just outrageous, off this world performances. And right now they're begging Ty Simpson to play like Joe Burrow, 2019 Joe Burrow, day in and day out, paired with a defense that you're hoping you get some turnovers. And that's the only thing in this game that gives me pause is what if Indiana has a game like Alabama did versus OU that first time and you spot them 3 turnovers in a big spot, in a big game. The Hoosiers are new to the vibes, are new to the environment. Big game troubles.
This one is probably by far the most intriguing game, I think, in this round, by far. And Alabama fans are going to love to hear,
Bama Kobe.
All the talk. Well, not necessarily Bama Kobe, but just all the talk about, like, they're 7.5-point dogs. They don't have the team. They're just not the Alabama of old. Indiana's the new face of college football, the Indiana Hoosiers. All of that, it just talks to me in a way that's just like, man, should Alabama even fly out to Pasadena? Should they even get off the buses? Should they even buckle them up in the crimson helmets and let them ride? Or should they just stay at home, wave, say, had a good year, appreciate it, good luck to you? They're hard to kill, Harrison. I think that's in the back of my mind when you think about all the times. And don't get me wrong, I think we all have crimson glasses sometimes in the Alabama of old. If you'd told me 4 years ago that you were spotting them 8 points, that they were going to lose by 8 points, I'd tell you, you hammer Alabama all day long, twice on Sunday, they're probably going to be outright winners. I agree with you, and it hurts me. I think Indiana wins by a touchdown, but they're going to have to kill Alabama sooner rather than later at some point. I mean, they're going to have to put them out. If it's a 3-point game late in this game, Indiana better be – they're sweating hard because Alabama just doesn't go away. They showed that against Oklahoma. They've shown that in multiple games this year, that if they are around, if you leave them hanging around, they have the offensive weapons to mount big-time scores super quickly. I think give me Indiana. I think they win this game probably like probably like 28-17, 28-24. Kind of depends on those, late touchdowns from Alabama. Indiana gets it done, but man, it just feels like a trap in the media. There's a lot of rat poison floating around.
You make me feel better about picking the Hoosiers by talking Alabama's hard to kill. That was poison for OU. The hard to kill, stealing that mantra from the head man himself, the head ball coach himself, ended up being rat poison, Kobe. I feel a little bit better about that pick now. If Alabama's adopting that mantra, they might be buried 6 feet in the dirt come next Sunday. Last one. Hard Rock Stadium, home of the national championship game this year. Just 2 weeks early. A couple weeks early, actually. Basically a month early. Oregon, Texas Tech. You got a top 4 seed that is a underdog. Oregon's a 2.5-point favorite here. I'll go first again, Kobe, because I think we're probably going to pick one of the same here. But give me the Fighting Dan Lannings to cover the spread here. I mean, 2.5-point spread. You're essentially it's essentially a money line pick. It's pretty damn hard to cover a 2.5-point spread as a dog. Very hard to do. You need like a missed PAT or something, essentially. Give me Oregon to win. I don't think this game's particularly close. I think Dan Lanning's going to come out here talking about the Texas Tech oil money and say they're frauds in his pregame speech, and I think they're just going to roll. I think Oregon's the team that you sit up and you wake up at night and you're kind of like, ooh, what if it clicks? What if the youth comes together and they start getting old and they have that maturity? What if Dante Moore is the second coming of, Jesus or something? Like that keeps people up at night a little bit. If this Oregon team puts it together and they get hot, watch out. Watch out. That's going to be one to watch. I'm taking Oregon here. I think Oregon covers, and I'm taking Oregon to win this game by 17. Rest in peace to the Red Raiders.
Brother, you need to go ahead and take that down to Vegas.
Hey, I'll be in New Orleans. I'll be in the casino.
See if they'll give you 16.5 points. They'll smile and say, yes, sir, you certainly can bet 16.5 points. This is going to be one of those. This is like you're saying, this is a team that's never been there versus a team that's got to show me, right? And that's what I think makes it so hard for Dan. Late season games, I always tend to pick him like this, like you're talking about. Games that I feel like he's prepared, he can play defense, he has all the chip on his shoulder. I've picked him against Utah, I've picked him against Washington, I've picked him against all these teams that, like, for all intents and purposes, he should roll into town. He's the more physical team. He has a better offense. I think he has a better coaching staff. And then he just ends up kind of laying out a little dull. Kalen DeBoer beat him twice that year on the way to the national championship. Utah, Whittingham's had his number left and right. It's just one of those weird games, right? Like, I think this line is going to be very great. I think they nailed it on the head. Like a field goal game. Texas Tech, their strength is their defense. I'm just not sure Oregon is as strong on defense as they have been in the past under Lanning. Call me crazy. Call me recency bias. Call me whatever you want to. but I just feel like the defense at Oregon is not quite the same as it has been the last 2 years. I think Texas Tech is competitive. I think they're going to try to force some turnovers and get Dante Moore to making some bad decisions. I think this is a close football game. I could see this being like, a 34-31 type football game where Oregon's going to be able to score. I think Texas Tech's going to put up some points. I think it's going to come down to, a late field goal by Oregon to win this game.
Dawgs by 16.5. You heard it here first.
I can't wait, dude.
Just going to place that ticket on the table.
I can't
come
wait
back
to see
next
that
Sunday
ticket.
and be like, Kobe, you want $1? Man, I'm excited, Kobe. Like, seriously, I think this is going to be a great week. As much as we talked about last year's in all the top four seeds losing, I don't suspect we'll have a bad game. A terrible game. Now, granted, that's the same guy just said Oregon by 17. But I think that's maybe they're going to pull away late in that game. I don't think that's going to be a blowout from jump. I'm excited.
I think at this point, the only game in my mind that has the ability to go dirty, like you're talking about, is Ohio State Miami. Like I think if one of them gets ugly quick, I think Ohio State has the ability to make things very difficult on Miami. But I agree. I think at this point, before the games have been played, I think these 4 games are going to be better than the 4 games last season at this point. That's my take. I
got an Ohio State segment just sitting in the back pocket. There was some news last week about Ohio State, specifically their play calling situation, that we're gonna talk about if Georgia makes it to the Fiesta Bowl to play Ohio State. We will talk about that. It might even be a takeaway from this game coming up. Be curious to see how that all works out, considering last year's happenings at the offense coordinator position for Ohio State. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for today's show over here on the Top Dog Talk podcast. That's Kobe Pierce. I'm Harrison Reno. Dan Kiley's out somewhere over yonder in Charleston.
Shout out, a good
old time. Yeah, shout out, Dan. We'll see you back next Sunday at 7:30, fresh off the Sugar Bowl. God, I hope for my co-host's sakes, especially for Dan, I think Kobe will show up no matter what. I hope Georgia wins. Otherwise, we might not have a show.
Yeah, we might not. We'll see. If you come here for unemotional things, then I'm not your man. I will not show up after a loss. I have no problem talking about.
We had to take a day off the Sunday after the Bama game. Kobe and Dan both called like, "Hey,
I was listening.
I can't do this anymore."
I mean, I was in the stadium listening to the All Quiet on the Western Front noise all night. I was fried. I was like, I need a mental reset. I didn't go to bed until 2:30. I'm not getting on the show. Thanks.
Anyways, we shall see you next Sunday at 7:30. If I have to, I will go solo.
8:30.
8:30. I'm sorry. 8:30. Don't even know my damn shows. Looks like an Auburn fan. Need Ole Miss to get this dub.
Typical Auburn
appreciate
fan.
You, Soul Brother. I hope.
Else.
Soul Brother, if you're new here, please subscribe. We do this show. Right now, it's going to be 2 straight Sunday shows, but typically we're during the week. Wednesdays at 7:30. Sundays, if we have a Sunday show, which we will next week, it's at 8:30. Check us out. Top Dog Talk. It's Kobe Pierce. He played at Georgia. Long snapper. We are a special teams pro show. Dan was a punter. Doesn't have the claim to fame like Kobe did. But hey, if you got them both lined up in their primes, they'd be a dynamic duo like they are on this show. Anyways, we'll see you next Sunday at 8:30. This is the Top Dog Talk podcast, and we will see you later.